Hey there, I'm Natalie France and welcome to my YouTube channel, a space completely dedicated to the practice of self-love through yoga. If you haven't already done so, please do go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to get notified each time I upload a new video. Today's session is going to focus on your hips. It's a hip opening yoga flow, and also it's relating to the emotion of anger in terms of releasing that from the body. I'll explain a little bit more about that as we get into the session in just a moment. Hey, so welcome back. We're going to start here on the mat in your reclined bound pose, perfect for a hip opening session. So bring yourself to lay down on the mat, soles of your feet together, knees out to the sides. You can either place your hands lightly onto the inner thighs or take your hands onto the mat underneath your legs. Just make sure that you have that nice diamond shape in your legs and keep a neutral spine here as well. Close off the eyes once you're ready. Let your body sink into the ground. So when I say sink into the ground, allow yourself to rest into this pose without kind of tensing your legs up in place, your knees up in place. Let your body rest. If your hips are quite tight, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but what I don't want you to do is kind of hold your legs into place and let them fall out as much as they can as you hold here, and find comfort in the discomfort if you can as well. Bring the awareness to your breathing, and you're focusing on the natural flow of your breath. The only change I would ask you to make is to aim to inhale and exhale in and out of the nose as you hold here. Having these first few moments of the session in relaxation, and bringing the focus back to the purpose of today's session. So it's a hip opening flow, and it's often said that you store emotions in your hips, and I have chosen to focus on the emotion of anger because it's very much a real anger and then a real emotion, and in relation to your journey of self-love. There can be an element of anger sometimes. It can present itself in many forms. It could be that others get short with you because you have decided to focus on yourself, and maybe they're not used to you not being accessible to them. It could be this idea that you're angry with yourself for not maybe taking the time to make yourself a priority sooner, or maybe you feel like you've lost out on opportunities or experiences because you're too busy focused on every and anything else but you. There might be another reason why anger has shown up in your life recently. You could generally be angry at a situation, at a person, whatever it might be. When it comes to self-love, you want to acknowledge that anger, but also let it go. With that in mind, bring the palms of your hands underneath your legs now, so you can start to bring your legs in towards one another, and then hug your knees into your chest, taking a gentle rock from side to side. If your eyes are still closed, that's absolutely fine. If they're open, that's fine. It doesn't matter at this precise moment in time. Just have a moment to rock from side to side, massaging your back into the mat. Bringing yourself back to that sense of stillness, and if the eyes are still closed, now would be a great time to flicker them open. Keeping that right knee hugged into your chest, lengthen your left leg out so your left leg is hovering off the mat. Hug that right knee in, take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, change sides. Your right leg is now lengthened, hovering off the mat, that left knee hugs in. Take a deep inhale in, exhale, change sides. So keep working that movement nice and slowly. There's no need to rush through this. Each time you take a deep inhale, and then exhale to change. And really hug that knee in as the opposite leg lengthens. Although it's not a specific focus of today's session, if you want a bit more core engagement, feel free to lift your head and shoulders off the mat as you keep working that movement. And the next, we bring our left knee in. That's the last round. Bring your right knee into meeting. If your head is up, squeeze the knees in. If your head is down, either keep it down or lift up the exhale, squeeze those knees in. One more inhale, exhale, release the head down. Taking your hands behind your thighs and gently rocking up and down the mat until you gain enough momentum to come all the way up to seated. If that's not for you, roll onto your right side and then bring yourself up to seated. Swing around on 2 or 4s into that tabletop position. Okay, from here, make sure your fingers are nice and widely spread, knees underneath your hips, a few rounds of cat-cow. So you inhale, lift your head up, arch your back into your cow pose. Exhale, drop your head down, round your back into your cat pose. Working through your cat-cows, bring that movement into your spine, into your back. Nice and steady, does it? When you get there, take one more inhale to lift up into your cow. Final exhale, squeeze down into your cat. Then come back to neutral spine at halfway point in between both moves. You step your right foot forwards in between your hands. Make sure that right knee is tracking over the ankle and lift yourself up. Interlace your fingers so the palms of the hands come into your right thigh. Just shuffle your left knee so it's a little bit more behind your left hip as well. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, sink your hips forwards to the front of the room, or to the front of your mat. And for that deep stretch in your left side of the hip flexor, shoulders away from the ears as you hold here, breathe into that stretch. You take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring both hands inside of your right foot, shuffle your right foot to the side of the mat and have your right foot extending rotation so your right toes are out and your right heel is in. Then press your right hand onto your inner right thigh. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, press over into your right thigh into that gentle hip open as you hold it here and breathe into it. You take one more inhale. Exhale, bring your right foot back to centre, bring your right hand onto the mat inside the right foot, step your right knee back. Then bring your left foot in between the hands, left knee tracks over ankle. Shuffle that right knee so it's just behind your hip. Bring yourself up, interlace your fingers, place your hands onto your left thigh. Take a deep inhale in once more. As you exhale, press your hips forwards. So you feel that deep stretch now on your right side and your right hip flexor. Again, keep those shoulders away from your ears as you hold here and breathe into your stretch. You take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your hands to the inside of your left foot, shuffle your left foot to the left side of the mat and take your left toes out so your left heel is into that external rotation. Left hand comes into inner thigh, gently press down on the exhale to open out into your left thigh, into that hip bone. Now you can press away so you kind of twist to your left side as well as you hold here in that stretch. You take one more inhale. Exhale, bring that left leg back to centre, bring your left hand down, step your left knee back to meet your right knee, tucking your toes, and pushing yourself up and back into a downward facing dog. You want those feet to be hip distance apart, so you press your heels down to the ground, press into the pads of your fingertips, press the weight into your fingers rather than your wrists, so let your head release down and start to pedal at your knees. So you exhale to bend one knee, inhale in your transition, exhale bending the opposite knee in your down dog. Again, bringing your focus back to the session as you put out your knees, that idea of releasing emotions from your hips, and specifically we're focusing on anger today. What do you need to release that could be stored in that area of your body? Bringing yourself back to a still downward facing dog here. Press your heels down to the ground for that stretch into your hamstrings. From here, take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, take your right leg up to the ceiling, hold it here. Keep the hip down. So though it's a hip opening session, please keep your right hip down. Draw your left heel down to the ground as well. We'll go to the hip opening in just a moment. Take another inhale. As you exhale, step your right foot to the right side of your right hand into that lizard pose, okay? You have various options here in your lizard pose. You can keep your left knee off the ground. If that feels too intense, then bring your left knee down to the ground, all right? Also, you can have, whether your knees up or down, you can have your hands on the mat, you can have your forearms come onto the ground as well. You want to keep your right knee pressed against your right shoulder. So avoid the knee kind of going away, press it into the shoulder. Regardless of which option you're in, avoid a looking down version as well. Lengthen your gaze forwards so you have that alignment through your spine, and breathe into this pose. Hold it here. I know it's intense, but breathe into it. Deep inhales and exhales. You take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your hands back onto that, to that high position. Lift the left knee off if it was down and step back into your high plank. Okay, from here, modify Chaturanga. Take a deep inhale in. Exhale, knees down, release your toes, come all the way down to the ground. Inhale, lift your chest, shoulders back for cobra. Exhale, push up and back into a downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale in. Exhale, take your left leg up. So once more, keep your left hip drop down. Draw your right heel down to the ground. Hold it here. Take another deep inhale in. As you exhale, bring your body weight forward. That left knee now goes over, or the left foot goes over to your left hand. So around the outside of your left hand into this pose once more. Right knee up, right knee down, hands down, forearms down, whatever feels good in this pose for you to hold. Keep pressing that left knee into your left shoulder wherever you are. Rather than dropping the head down, lengthen your gaze forwards as you hold it here. Breathe into the intensity of this hip opener. Deep inhales and exhales. Take one more inhale. Exhale, bring your hands back on to the mat. If your right knee is down, lift it off. And then step back into your high plank. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, even modified or full Chaturanga. Inhale up to a cobra, upward facing dog, release those toes. Exhale, push up and back into a downward facing dog as you hold it here. Take a moment to stretch into the back of the legs, press your heels down your downward facing dog as you hold here. Deep inhales and exhales. As always, if you have tight hamstrings, bend the knees, bring your belly back towards your thighs, but keep thinking about pressing the heels down to the ground as you exhale. Start to lengthen through those legs. Take your right leg up to sitting into that three-legged dog. Now you can start to open out your hips. You take your right foot into a bend, your right knee into a bend, so your right foot starts to go behind you to the left side. Open out to your hip, options and look under your right armpit as well as you hold it here. Take a moment to breathe into this hip opener like this. Hold it here. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your body weight back to center. Then bring your right foot in between your hands once more for runner's lunge. Press up onto the pads of your fingertips. Lift your belly off your thigh. Draw that left heel back. Unless you specifically need to have the left knee down, draw that left heel back. Just make sure your right knee is tracking over your ankle, but lift off your thigh as you hold it here. Deep inhales and exhales. You take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your left heel onto the ground so your left toes are angled to the corner of your mat on the left side. Shift your weight over to the left side like retreating warrior. You can keep up high in your retreating warrior. So high would be here. Flexing the right foot so toes come off the mat. If you're going to go low into your retreating warrior, come all the way down, as long as that's okay for your knees. If your left heel comes off the ground, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. That deep stretch across the inner part of your legs as you hold it here. Deep inhales and exhales. You take one more inhale. As you exhale, bring your body weight back to the right side. So bend into the right knee, frame your right foot, step your right foot back into that high plank once more. Deep inhale in. Exhale, your vinyasa of your choice. Low down for modified or full Chaturanga. Inhale up to your cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhale, push up and back into a downward facing dog. Hold here. Take an inhale. Exhale, lift your left leg up to ceiling this time. Press that right heel down to the ground. Then you bring that bend into your left knee. So the left foot tries to come over to the right side as you open out to your left hip. You can look under your armpit as you hold here as well. For a few moments there. Take a deep inhale in to come back to center. As you exhale, step your left foot in between your hands into that runner's lunge. So you come onto the pads of your fingertips rather than the palms being down. You lift your belly, so rather than being here, lift your belly off your thigh. Draw your right heel back unless you specifically need to have that right knee down. Lengthen your gaze forwards as you hold it here. Take one more inhale. As you exhale, Turn your right foot so your toes are angled to the corner of the mat on the other side. Then shift your weight over to the right side for your retreating warrior. So you lengthen for your left leg. You can stay high here. Left foot is flexed. If you're going for that lower option, go right down into almost squat as you hold it here and breathe into it. Lengthen for the left leg. Avoid the kind of leaning forwards option as well. Try to keep that body nice and upright with your chest open as you hold it here. Good, then start to bring your weight back to center, over to the left side. Frame your left foot. Step back into your high plank once more for the Vinyasa of your choice. Slow down, full and modified Chaturanga. Inhale up to your cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhale, push up and back into a downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale in. Through the nose, deep exhale out through the mouth to release. Take another deep inhale in through the nose. Deep exhale out through the mouth to release. Take one more deep inhale in. On this next exhale, bring your knees down to the ground into your extended puppy stretch. Release your toes, make sure your knees stay underneath your hips. As you walk your hands out in front and rest your forehead down to the ground. Keep those elbows lifted off the mat. Have a moment here to reconnect to that emotion of anger that you're looking to release today during this practice. What do you feel has caused unnecessary anger in your life, and how do you intend to release and let it go? From here you start to walk your hands back in towards you, and then bring your right knee behind your right hand for your pigeon. If you need a modified pigeon, keep a bend in of both knees, okay? It's not the most intense version of pigeon, but you can still gain some benefits from it and rest your head into your arms this way. If you're going for that full option of your pigeon, lengthen your left leg all the way back behind you, release your left toes. If you have a natural gap between your right tail but your right bum cheek effectively in the mat, that's fine. There's no need to dip into the right side. Just keep your weight centered so your hips are squared to the mat, and rest your head into your forearms as you hold it here. Feel that open position in your right side in your pigeon as you hold here. Take a moment to breathe into it. Pigeon is one of those poses again where you have to have a sense of surrendering to the pose essentially. Let yourself sink into the pose. It's a pose that can make you angry as well, believe it or not, because it's such an awkward feeling pose for most people, but you want to inhale, exhale to release into the pose. Rather than kind of tensing your body into position, let your body release into that position. You take one more inhale from here. Exhale, lift up. Now you roll onto your right side. You lengthen your left leg. We'll swing your left leg around, so you lengthen your left leg out in front of you. Shift your right foot so the right foot, the sole's right foot comes next to your left leg. Flex your left foot so your toes are nice and lengthened. Inhale, raise your hands up to the ceiling. As you exhale, slight twist to the left side and then reach forwards. Let your hands fall where they naturally place. This is not the pose, okay? No rounding for the spine. If your hands fall on your shin, that's absolutely fine. You inhale to lengthen through to crown the head. Keep your chest open, shoulders back. Exhale to forward fold in your Janusasana. So you inhale to lengthen. You exhale, forward fold in. There's no need to round for the back to get close to your legs. You lengthen through your spine. Use your breath to get there. You're open out to the right hip. You're feeling that stretch in your left hamstrings. You inhale, lengthen in. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, lengthen in. Exhale, fold in. So you use your breathing to help you go deeper into that pose. After your next exhale, start to bring yourself all the way back up. Have a loose cross in your ankles. Bring your hands onto the mat. Either step back, or if it's in your practice, you can jump back to Chaturanga, lowering down. Inhaling up. Exhale, push up and back into your downward facing dog. Take a deep inhale in. Exhale, release out through the mouth. Take another deep inhale in. Exhale, release out through the mouth. Take one more deep inhale in. Exhale, bring your knees down to the mat, going straight into your pigeon on the other side this time. So take your left knee behind your left hand. Again, either have both knees bent or lengthen back for your right leg as you go into your full pigeon. Release your right toes. Keep the hips square to the mat, so no leaning onto the left side if you happen to have a gap between your seat and the mat. Let yourself once more sink into that pose. Breathe into that space. Can you find more space by letting go of whatever you're holding on to in your mind in relation to anger? And inhale, exhale, let it go. After your next exhale, start to walk yourself back up onto your hands, then rock onto your left side so your right leg swings out to the front, and now your right leg is nice and long. Flex your right foot, shimmy your left foot so it comes against the sole, it comes against the inner part of your right thigh. You inhale, lift the arms up. Exhale, slight twist to the right side as you reach forward, so that your hands forward and naturally place on your right leg. You inhale to lengthen, you exhale to forward fold. Again, keep that chest open, shoulders back. If you're all the way up here, that is perfect. This is better than this, okay? So inhale, lengthening, exhale, forward fold, and let your breath help you get closer to your legs. Feel that open position in your left side as you inhale, lengthen, exhale, forward fold. Taking one more inhale. Exhale to bring yourself all the way back up. Loosely cross out your ankles once more. Either step, if it's in your practice, you can jump back to your Chaturanga, lower down. Inhale up. Exhale into a child's pose here. Toes together, knees other side of the mat. Lengthen your arms out in front of you so you rest your forehead down to the ground. Have a moment to reconnect to your breathing, reconnect to the focus for today's session as you hold here. Don't forget your child's pose is also a hip bending pose. Allow yourself to sink into your heels, into your hips as you hold and breathe into that position. Then start to gently walk your hands back in towards your body. Find yourself onto a seat on the mat, somewhere in the middle of the mat, allowing you to roll down, to lay on the ground in just a moment. Feet hip distance apart, keep that bend in your knees. Inhale, raise your hands up. Exhale, bring your chin to chest, start to slowly roll down to the ground. So one part of your back touches the mat at a time. You get a bit of abdominal engagement here, but your head is the absolute last thing to come down. Once you come down to the ground, hug your knees into your chest, take that gentle from side to side, massaging your back into the mat. And then bring yourself back to being nice and still. Keeping those knees hugged in. If it's okay for you to do so, cross your right knee over your left knee. If it feels too much, then bring the feet down, have the knees side by side for a supine twist. So go for this cross knee position or have legs together. Hands out either side of you, either T-shape or cactus shape, whichever feels the most appropriate for you. Take a deep inhale in. As you exhale, your knees now fall down to your left as your head goes to your right, and close off your eyes. Able to keep both shoulders, specifically your right shoulder as it all wants to lift up, press into the mat. Breathe into the right side of your body and find a way to be comfortable in this supine twist. So again, aim not to kind of tense your legs into place, let them fall into place as you hold here. Breathe into it. Taking the focus back to the topic of today's session, that idea of releasing emotions, releasing tension from your hips, releasing emotions from your mind, that emotion of anger specifically, whatever it is that's caused you anger, let it go. As you inhale, bring your knees back to centre. If they're crossed, uncross the knees, then cross the left knee over your right knee. Exhale, your knees fall to your right as your head now turns to your left. And again, close up the eyes, let the left shoulder press into the mat. Find comfort in the legs, fall into the sides as opposed to holding them in place as you breathe into your left side. Again, focusing on what you need to deal with. That's annoyed you in some way, shape or form. That's angered you. From here, as you inhale, bring your legs back to center, uncross your legs, find yourself in your foot in a resting pose into Shavasana, one leg over side of the mat, palms face up towards the ceiling. Close up those eyes once more, allow that body to sink into the ground. Having a moment of stillness here. I'm going to let you hold here in stillness, have a few moments to think about what you want to make peace with in terms of whatever's angered you as you hold here in relaxation and silence. Starting to bring the awareness back to your breathing as you take deep inhales in through the nose, deep exhales out through the mouth to release. Bringing that gentle movement back to your body with your fingers and with your toes. Allowing yourself to take a full body stretch, interlace your fingers, press the hands away from the head, point all the way through to your toes. Then bring in both knees into your chest, hug them in. Take a gentle rock from side to side until you eventually find yourself rolling over onto that right side of your mat. You have a moment to pause here on your right side before pushing yourself up into a cross-legged position, facing back towards me and closing off the eyes once you're there. Hands to prayer to heart center, elbows out to the side, shoulders away from your ears, bring your chin down to your chest. Thanking yourself for showing up on the mats with me today, for taking part in this session, and releasing whatever it is that creates that emotion of anger for you. Having a moment to think about it, release it, and move on. Take your gaze down behind closed eyes, so that when you flick open your eyes, your gaze is already down. And as you flick those eyes open, start to slowly lift your gaze when you're ready. Thank you. That is the end of today's yoga session, the hip opening session, which can sometimes feel quite intense, but it's a good practice to do. And if you are holding on to any anger, know that you can release and let it go. You can breathe into your hips, you can breathe into that anger, you can have a moment of stillness to get rid. So until next time, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.